Hey guys, Professor Armstrong here. I'm coming to you straight from sunny San Diego, California, where I've been at the AALS Law Professor Conference for the last several days. I know it's a terrible thing to have to do, but I do it for you. So this is going to be the world's worst YouTube video, I'll tell you now. And there are people around, so they might get a little bit of free information about our course, Literary Approaches to Law. But I wanted to make sure that because we're not able to meet in person, that I'm able to give you just a little bit of an overview of the class and kind of where we are, so that we don't feel completely lost as we dive into the second week when we can meet in person. So, also, I'm reading off of my notes, so world's worst YouTube video. This is what you're in for, you guys. Get ready, okay? Hey, this is a seminar. What are we going to be doing? Our goal is to make each of you will be making a 20-page seminar paper. It's meant to be a paper of publishable quality, and that means it needs to be well-sourced, and it needs to be, written in a law review article sort of tone, and it needs to be polished, and it needs to be, well thought out, and it needs to contribute something new or novel to this area of law. The great thing about this area of law is that we have a lot of freedom to explore things, and we're not as hidebound to the traditional forms of law review articles. So I'm excited about what you guys will produce. And we'll dive more into the details of that. So if you're sweating like, oh my gosh, I don't know what this paper is even meant to look like, our goal right now is to ground ourselves in the basics, and then we'll flesh that out as we go through the semester, and we're going to provide a lot of guidance on that. So great. Your paper does have to be related to the topic, which is literary approaches to law. What do we mean by that? This is a perspectives class, so we're going to be developing our perspective. We're going to be looking at law through a literary lens, through a humanities lens, through a humanist lens. And more specifically, we're going to be looking at kind of literary approaches to law. I think for me that means two things. One, viewing law as literature, sort of looking at legal texts through literary lenses. And then second, making law as literature, making law as literature is made. And what we mean by that is using literary techniques and tools, and I'm defining literary broadly there. It could include poetry, it could include stories, it could include drama or theater, but incorporating those processes into legal processes. So those are the two kind of broad branches as I'm seeing it. How are we going to get from that sort of broad conception to your final paper? We're going to kind of proceed on two tracks. First, we will do a lot of discussion and exploration of these topics in class. We're going to be doing a lot of reading. I'm going to give you a lot of material to kind of explode these concepts and take us in all kinds of different directions. We're going to be reading and discussing those in class. That will hopefully help us, just get a better sense of what is out there to be explored. We're going to do that throughout the semester, but before we finalize that, you're going to need to start narrowing in on your topic and actually start writing. So the second kind of parallel track is we will be exploring topics. You'll be exploring them on your own. You'll be doing research. You'll be doing pre-writing to narrow that topic down and start writing your paper. Sort of drafting and then revising. And as part of the revising process, one of the key components of this class is workshopping. And what I'm envisioning this as is a fiction-style workshop. Some airplanes in the distance here. Fiction-style workshop. What that means is that we each read each other's paper, and we provide both written and oral feedback on it in a workshop setting. So it's public feedback. We'll all be sitting in a room, and we will all discuss the paper that's being workshopped. Everyone will have their paper workshopped. Everyone will need to contribute to the workshopping of others' papers. My strong hope, based on my experience in fiction workshops, is that you will get something out of having your paper workshopped, and you will also get something out of workshopping other people's papers. Looking at other people's writing critically helps you turn that same lens back on your own work. And so this is a collaborative process. This class is going to each kind of take some responsibility for everyone else's work in a way. And that's a great thing. My hope is that we will come to view the feedback that we receive in workshop as a gift. Sometimes people can find it difficult to receive criticism in workshop. Hopefully that criticism will be constructive, or even just to receive feedback. It's not perfect already. What? No, it's not. Every piece of writing is always on a journey from where it is to its ideal state. Oh man, now there's an organ in the distance, you guys. I don't know, pretend you're at the ballpark. Anyway, every piece of writing is on a journey from where it is to its sort of ideal state, but it never ever gets there. Even the best law review article, whatever, Erwin Chemerinsky, who I ran into earlier this week. I didn't talk to him though, because I was in my jogging clothes. But anyways, I saw Erwin. His best article, the best Supreme Court brief, the best Supreme Court opinion can always be improved. And so, there's no shame in basically finding areas to improve. And what you do is you just keep using finer and finer, grit of sandpaper on that piece. And so we will be always finding something that we can talk about with each paper. So great, that's workshopping. Let's see, follow the arrows on my notes. What will our papers look like? I mean, I'm envisioning them, if you're wondering, and we'll get way more into the weeds of this, but if you're freaking out about like, wait, how am I gonna have, 150 footnotes in essentially an English paper? We're gonna wind up, I think, with products that are somewhere between a traditional English paper, which is sort of very lightly sourced and a lot of like your own thoughts and a lot of, frankly, maybe a lot of filler sometimes. Some of my English papers certainly had them. And that really very footnote heavy law review article. We're gonna wind up somewhere in between there for this class, and that's okay. Because in this area, that's what you tend to see. A lot of our early reading is gonna be very lightly footnoted, and we will want something more well documented and more well supported and more based in what's come before than, for example, what you're seeing in the James Boyd White reading. His reading is really to set the tone, but it's not really something that we will be emulating in terms of verbosity or in terms of the lightness of his citations. But I'll give you examples that are closer to what we're looking for. Those are coming down the pike. So I think we're going to wind up kind of in a little bit of a sweet spot between a traditional law review article and like an English paper. So what is my advice to you right now? I'm gonna do a couple other videos, maybe if I can move away from this organ, or maybe it's a good thing. Maybe this is like making it more dramatic and exciting. Yeah, we'll go with that. But anyways, we're going to start looking right now at some very broad things. Look ahead on the syllabus, which hasn't been posted yet, but will be posted soon. Skim ahead. I wouldn't say read ahead, but I would say skim ahead. Look at the topics. Look at the, if you see something that interests you, if rhetoric really interests you, or semiotics really interests you, or, applied storytelling really interests you, dive into some of those sources and see, okay, where do I think I am with this, and where do I think I might want to take it? So start thinking about your topics now. I love this organ. We will give you, I'm going to give you like a couple of weeks to narrow the topic down and before we're really required to lock in a topic. So don't sweat that like the first class, you're going to have to know what to write about. But I want you to start thinking about it now, triumphantly. I want you to start thinking about it now. Because, the sooner you can do that, the more time you'll have to hone and narrow that topic. And if you look in the Fajan's reading for the first class, that's something that she stresses, and I would also stress is super important. So that's the other aspect. As we start looking at the content, we're going to look at like James Boyd White. We're going to look at some of these more basic texts, and then we're going to build out from there. We're going to be simultaneously looking at Fajan's book, which is basically a how-to on how to do this. Topic selection, narrowing it down, checking for novelty, doing research, starting pre-writing, all of those things she's going to help guide you through, and we'll talk about it in class too. So that's where we are with this. We're approaching the 10-minute mark on this video, so I'm gonna sign off and regroup, and then I will post some other videos just sort of about the 3 main content-based texts for the first class. Definitely go on to Twen, look at the forums. I posted some discussion questions as for each of the reading, each of those 3 selections. Please respond to 1 question. You don't have to respond to 1 question per source. Just find a question in there that you think you want to say something on. Just give us a short response, just so I can see you engaging a little bit. And we can flesh out some of those concepts, because what we would normally do if we were having classes, we would talk about all of those things, and we'll still talk about them on the 17th. But you know, we're going to have a lot to talk about. So we want to sort of start those discussions now on the forums. You'll see there's like 4 questions, I think, for the sort of shorter 2 readings, and then for James Boyd White, I went a little crazy. There's 25 discussion questions. Read them through from top to tail before you decide which one to respond to. I wrote them roughly in the order that they occurred to me as I read through that reading. So if you see like number 18 and you're like, where does James Boyd White talk about that? Well, it's probably about 2/3 of the way through the reading. So, all right, more from San Diego soon. Thanks for watching. Smash that like and subscribe. Bye.